We'd like to welcome Swami Chidekananda of return to Hollywood. He started here at this center, joined in 2004, but he's spent 14 years in India. He took sannyas in 2014, and he spent most of that time as the production editor of Prabhupada Bharata, and that's at the Advaita Ashrama at the Kolkata Center. And he's written about 20 articles, and he also gives classes in Raja Yoga And he's doing research on Ramakrishna in Calcutta and hopes to do an article on that soon. He's also been accepted to the Harvard program, the interfaith clergy program that both Swami Sarvapriyananda and Swami Harmonizing had the privilege of attending. So he'll be back in the United States in the fall for that. So now, without taking up more of his time, I'll let him begin his lecture on Sri Ramakrishna's Bhava and the challenges of making, harmonizing the ideal and the real.
Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagatgurum Padapadme Tvayo Shritva Pranamami Muhur Muhur Namashri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Namaste, everybody. Pranams to Revered Swami Sumanasnanda ji, Swami Vidyananda ji, namaskars to Swami Medhananda ji. And it's almost like, you know, I've been gone 10 years, and a couple of faces I recognize beneath the mask, but a lot of new faces as well. And so it's nice to be back. It's really nice to be back. And one thing I can say is that I've only visited a couple of times the Hollywood Temple, but it seems that Swami Sarvadevananda ji is continuing that same tradition as Swami Swahananda ji, that you can say Hollywood is one of the homeliest ashrams in the United States, that one feels they can come here and they automatically feel at home. So that's a really nice vibration about here. Now, just one thing, many people have asked, I'm coming after 9 years, so many people are asking me, do you notice any change about yourself after spending more than 9 years, almost 14 years in India? Do you see any, have you had any transformation? And I reply, I don't know. I've not stayed with my brother long enough. My brother's a monk at the Hollywood San Diego Center. So they say you really only know yourself after you live with somebody who can activate your pain bodies, your unconscious, right? So same thing, actually we're going to talk about this today, the same thing sometimes we see in the comments, sometimes people see a lecture on Advaita Vedanta. Say Revered Swami Sarvapriyananda ji, who was my Acharya and Training Center, one of the, probably our best speaker in our order. So afterwards, if you read the comments, people say that, Maharaj, now I see God everywhere. After listening to your Advaita Vedanta lecture, now I see God everywhere. So I'm going to push back on that, because I was an attorney before joining. So yes, it's easy to see, and they say I can see God in the strangers. I can see God in the people in the airport. So I'll push back on that. But nobody ever says, I can see God in my disrespectful husband or my disrespectful boss. So this type of thing, and we're going to talk about this today, because Swami Vivekananda talks about this, the concept of actualization. Part of that is that it comes from inside out, that when our pain bodies are triggered, that's our true test of spirituality. So today my talk is going to be on Sri Ramakrishna's Bhava and the Ramakrishna mission, practicalizing the ideal with the real. So this is, I'm just holding this up, this is our Prabuddha Bharata magazine. It was started in 1896 by Swami Vivekananda. And I'm the production editor for the last more than 9 years of this magazine. And I wrote an article in here, Ramakrishna's Bhava and the Ramakrishna mission, practicalizing the ideal with the real. So today we're going to do 5 things. But before that, we're going to address an important point. Many times we see in the media, in scholars, that people have a tendency to label Swami Vivekananda as a nationalist, as a Hindutva. And today we're going to see in this talk that those who say that, they have not properly studied Swami Vivekananda's statements on Sri Ramakrishna's Bhava. So today we're going to do the following 5 things. First, I'm going to take everybody back to May 1st, 1897, at Balaram Mandir in Kolkata. That is where the Ramakrishna Mountain Mission was founded. Excuse me, Ramakrishna Mission was founded. And recently we... Okay. Do I have to speak into it?
Yeah, it's better to do it like this.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you don't have to speak into it. Just speak
Okay. Okay, so May 1st, we're going to take everyone back to May 1st, 1897, and we're going to analyze briefly a heated debate between Swami Yogananda and Swami Vivekananda. Secondly, we will analyze how Swami Vivekananda understood Ramakrishna's Bhava. In addition, what he expected from the followers of Ramakrishna. Two things is there. One is ideology, properly understanding Ramakrishna's Bhava. And the second, manifestation, actualization. Third thing, we're going to analyze the three challenges in harmonizing the ideal with the real for the followers of Ramakrishna. And I mentioned them briefly. Challenge number one, harmonizing nationalism with globalism. It's a very nuanced topic. Challenge number two, harmonizing love for one's own religion with a universal love for all religions. It's easy to say harmony of all religions and to speak these things. Sarva Dharma Samanvaya. These things are easy to say, but actually Swamiji talks about this, not only understanding the ideology, but putting it into practice. It's very nuanced. And it's, I would argue, one of our important spiritual practices. The third challenge is harmonizing a depth in either Raja Yoga, the path of meditation, or the path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga, combined with the harmony of all the yogas, especially Karma Yoga. Again, we talk about this, but it's not so easy. It's very nuanced, but it's very important. Okay, so now I'm going to take, too bad the lights are there because it's daytime, but I'm taking us back now to May 1st, 1897. That's okay, the lights are fine, it's okay. That's okay, it's not that important, it's okay. The founding of the Ramakrishna Mountain Mission, the Ramakrishna Mission by Swami Vivekananda. And this is the shrine room today, and this is probably where the meeting was held. That shrine room inside, that's also the room where Ramakrishna stayed. He visited Balaram Mandir more than 100 times between 1881 and 1886. So now we're going to just replay this heated argument between Swami Yogananda, a monastic direct disciple of Swami Vivekananda, and Swami Vivekananda. See, Swami Vivekananda, he held this meeting. He started the Ramakrishna Mission. Then he went to Swami Yogananda, and he said, "Dekhi, Thakurer kaj kemon hoy? Let's see how Ramakrishna's work will go on. This is all his will." Then Swami Yogananda, he replies, "Tomara eshob bideshi bhabe kaj kora hocche." You're doing all these things, bideshi bhabe, under the influence of foreign influence. In other words, Swami Vivekananda had just returned from the West on February 19th, 1897. So Swami Yogananda makes a serious accusation. He says, you're doing all of this under foreign influence. He continues, "Thakurer upadesh ki erokom chilo?" Did Ramakrishna actually give these advice to us to start an organization? Or is this some type of a Western concept? Then Swamiji replies, and if you want to see the best of Swami Vivekananda, I take pride in this because Swamiji comes from a family of lawyers, so I'm also a lawyer. So if you want to see the best of Swami Vivekananda, you just have to poke him a little bit and then see his reply. So Swamiji says, "Tui ki kore janli eshab Thakurer bhab noy?" How do you know that this is not Ramakrishna's bhab? Notice he does not use the word kaj. We all say Thakurer kaj. Bhab. What does bhab mean? Bhab, you can say it means ideas, emotion. Another thing, because Swami Medananji is here, I have to bring one thing up. When he says the word Bengali word, Tui ki kore janli, eshab Thakurer bhab noy. So Tui, I think those of you who know something of Bengali, so that's what, Tui, use the word Tui when you're addressing somebody really much younger than you. But it's ironic that Swami Vivekananda was born on January 12th, 1863. And Swami Yogananda? Yes, March 30th, 1861. So you may say that, okay, Swamiji was the leader of the pack, the leader of the group. But I would argue back, no. Tarak Maharaj, Swami Shivananda, he always called him Tarak Da, Baburam Da. So even add something more to this, because I'm a researcher of Thakur and Ramakrishna in Kolkata. Swamiji returned to Kolkata on February 19th, 1897. He arrived in Shelda Station. From Shelda Station, he was taken to Ripon Women's College, then to Pashupatinath's house in Bagbazar. So who was greeting him at Bagbazar, at Pashupatinath's house? Swami Brahmananda and Swami Yogananda. That's where that famous incident, Guru Vat Guru Putreshu. Swami Vivekananda made pranams to Swami Brahmananda and said the elder brother is like one's guru. Yet, also at that time, he made pranams to who? Swami Yogananda. So how do you explain Swamiji using this word Tui? So I just wanted, because Swami Medananji is inspiring this, so I just want to throw that out there. You can't explain it. That would be my argument. It's something inexplicable. The relationship between the direct disciples. So let's now continue. The next part, he says, Swamiji continues, Ananta bhav moy Thakur ke tora tode gandite buji boto kore rakte chas. So this is really important. Ananta bhav moy. So Ramakrishna is the embodiment of infinite moods, infinite ideas. And you want to keep, Gandite means you want to keep that confined.
Okay, forget it. It's hard to read because of the blue font. Anyway,
and that's okay, that's, you want to keep this all confined. Same thing, do we do that today? We have to ask he's not only talking to Swami Yogananda, he's also talking to us as well. Do we try to limit Ramakrishna's ideas? Do we try to say he's just an Advaitin, a Vishishta Advaitin? Do we try to limit him in different ways? So these are questions we have to ask ourselves as well. Then he ends up saying, Ami ei gondi bhenge tar bhab prithivi moy choriye diye jabo. I will not rest till this limited concept of Ramakrishna, till I break this up, till I break this limited concept and spread him all over the world in infinite ways. So the idea to understand here, Swami Vivekananda, he defined Ramakrishna's bhav as what? Ananta bhav moy. What does that mean? Then, in another place, Swamiji says, in another part of the conversation, Swamiji says, Brahma Gyana Yata Hoito. So, Yata Hoy, that means that there may be a limit to the knowledge of Brahman. To Prabhur Aggama Bhaber Yata Ne. But there is no limit to Ramakrishna's bhav. This is something that we have to really think about. I just recently gave a talk on growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And one of the things I mentioned about a growth mindset, about a fixed mindset, is when we put a limit to knowledge. We say it's this and nothing more. And one of the ways we say that is, I know that. We're putting a limit to knowledge, right? In fact, Ramakrishna did not like that idea. It's in the Kathamrita that Ramakrishna, when he met Debendranath Tagore, at that time, he was talking about he was mentioning to Debendranath Tagore the Upanishads and Brahman. And what did he reply? Ami o shob jani. I know all of that. Then Ramakrishna became upset. So this concept of limiting knowledge, limiting the bhava of Ramakrishna, this is what Swamiji did not like. So the next question, how did Swami Vivekananda understand Ramakrishna's bhava? He says, in a narrow society, there is depth and intensity of spirituality. The narrow stream is very rapid. In a Catholic society, along with the breadth of vision, we find a proportionate loss in depth and intensity. But the life of Ramakrishna upsets all records of history. It is a remarkable phenomenon that in Sri Ramakrishna, there has been an assemblage of ideas deeper than the sea and vaster than the skies. So what he's saying is, to really understand Ramakrishna's bhava, two things, breadth and depth. And the difficulty why do scholars, why do media, why do they label Swami Vivekananda as a fanatic, as a nationalist? They only understand one part, maybe this depth of emotion, but they don't understand the other aspect, breadth. I think in Bengali, one word, udar. Udar means liberal-minded, broad. So Ramakrishna used to say in the Kathamrita, udar na hoy, bhagavan ke pawa jai na. Unless one is liberal, broad-minded, one cannot realize God. In another place he says, gobhir, bhalobasha na hoy, bhagavan ke pawa jai na. So unless one has that depth of feeling, one cannot realize God. So this is one of our challenges today. Most of us, almost all of us are like this. We're either broad, tend to incline towards breadth, or depth. But this is the challenge that Swamiji is saying for all followers of Ramakrishna. How to combine both what? Breadth with depth. This is, I would argue, one of our main sadhanas. He continues. Swami Vivekananda continues about Ramakrishna's bhava. The life of Ramakrishna proves that the greatest breadth, the highest catholicity, and the utmost intensity can exist side by side in the same individual, and that society also can be constructed like that. For society is nothing but what? An aggregate of individuals. Now, I think this is where Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda, they take it to the next step. Normally when we talk about philosophy, ideology, we talk about the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, proper understanding. That's at the one level. But Swami Vivekananda took it another step forward. He talked about the second aspect of spiritual practice is what? Manifestation, actualization, not just at the subjective level, but also at what? At the objective level. He says, he is the true disciple and follower of Sri Ramakrishna, whose character is perfect and all-sided like this, meaning both breadth and depth. The formation of such a character is the ideal of this age, and everyone should strive for that alone. Let me continue. Then he says, some of us do understand that his life and teachings are to our gain, but there the matter ends. It is beyond our power even to attempt to put any of these precepts into practice in our own lives. To them we say, what will mere understanding do? The proof of understanding is its application and work. Will others believe you if it ends only in verbal expressions of assurance, or is put forward as a matter of personal faith. Work argues what one feels. Work out what you feel and let the world see. Again, I'm going to argue here, when work out what one feels, again, that's not just creating a big building for all religions. There's an objective component to that, as well as what? A subjective component. That our prejudices, our biases, also must be purified. So I write in the article, here Swami Vivekananda eschews the complacent mindset, which simply confines Ramakrishna's Bhava to the intellectual or theoretical level and does not attempt to manifest it in work. Hence, he repeatedly urges us to mold ourselves in Ramakrishna's Ananta Bhavmoy, all-sided character. Now, the next step. Now we're talking about what? Manifestation, actualization. This second aspect of what Swamiji is talking about. So what's the first aspect again? Proper understanding of the ideology, which is very nuanced. The second aspect, application. And this is equally nuanced. Why do I say that? As we're going to see today, even the direct disciples of Ramakrishna, monastic and householder disciples, struggled with this concept. What to speak of us? So the first challenge, number one, reconciling nationalism or intensity of love for one's own religious tradition. That should be actually one, intensity of love for one's own country with globalism or universal love for all nations. This is the first challenge. And if you think about it, that's a hot topic today, right? That's a really hot topic, especially in India. Now, how many here, just raise your hands, how many here know of Sharat Chandra Chakraborty? Okay. He wrote that, you can buy it, I think, from our bookstore, that Swami Vivekananda's talks, Swamiji Shishu Sambad, Conversations with Swami Vivekananda. I would say that if Master Mahosha in the Katamrita, in the Gospel of Ramakrishna, if he could verbatim produce the Katamrita, I would say that Sharat Chandra Chakraborty also comes close, especially in the Bengali. And I think it's also been very well translated. Anyways, I'll just, Swami Vivekananda, he talked about, it's again in his works, complete works, he talks about the concept of nationalism. He's emphasized the idea of nationalism, especially in India. In fact, in one conversation, he tells Sharat Chandra Chakraborty, he's praising the Japanese and their spirit of patriotism. And he's trying to encourage people in India to have that same concept of patriotism. He says, the Japanese are ready to sacrifice everything for their country, and they have become a great people. But you are not, meaning not just Sharat Chandra Chakraborty, but the people of India in general. You cannot be. You sacrifice everything only for your families and possessions. Now, it's really interesting because Swamiji talked about this concept of nationalism. Sister Nivedita, after Swami Vivekananda's passing, she took it one step further. Swamiji talked about nationalism, but he did not emphasize it so much. He emphasized it, but not so much. He talked more about man-making. But Sister Nivedita, after 1902, after Swami Vivekananda's passing, she brought this into the fold. She talked about what? Nation building. Anyway, Sister Nivedita, this is her. How many of you here know Sister Nivedita? Margaret Noble. One important thing is that she came in 1898 to India. And there, I wrote about this in one article, Swami Vivekananda gave her training, how to love India, how to love one's guru, and how to become really spiritual in the true sense. So Sister Nivedita, when she first came to India, she also had a strong nationalism for her mother country, Ireland and England. So she used to be very proud of the fact of what? That England was the world power of the entire world, was the moral policeman of the entire world. So Swamiji saw this patriotism. What did Swamiji say when he saw this? You know, patriotism like yours is really a sin. So now I'll raise a question. How to explain Swami, on the one hand, Swami Vivekananda's encouraging Sarat Chandra Chakraborty's patriotism for India, and yet at the same time, Swamiji is condemning Margaret Noble's patriotism for her motherland, England. Does this confirm the fact? Was Swamiji merely a nationalist and not a globalist? No, and I wrote this. Undoubtedly, Swami Vivekananda had a strong love for his motherland. At the same time, what we're arguing, why did he say this? We have to take into consideration the effect of the previous 300 years of British rule in India. They had instituted something called a colonial mindset, which affected Indians at the collective level. It affected the collective psyche. It created what? An alienation for one's own tradition, culture. So Swamiji wanted to rouse people, the Indians, out of this. Wanted to rouse that nationalism, to undo the damage that the British had done, imperial British have done during the past 300 years. Secondly, Swamiji did not, he says in many places, each nation has something great to contribute to the world. Each nation has something special. For example, if we take the United States, what are we proud of here? Our spirit of democracy, right? Democracy. So we're proud of that. But we won't take pride in the fact that we slaughtered Native American Indians before coming here, right? So each nation has something great about it. Swamiji says each nation has something to contribute to the world. So appreciate that aspect. So Swami Vivekananda did not appreciate that Sister Nivedita, or Margaret Noble at that time, was emphasizing British imperialism. That's not what to emphasize about the British culture. So yes, Swamiji had this strong love for India, but at the same time, when he came to America, he became completely one with the Americans. You could see his letters. I love this land, you know. I'm just paraphrasing, I'm tired of that jellyfish conservatism in India. Here one feels that they can do anything and everything. He loved that spirit of America. As Medananji mentioned, and we know, Swamiji left his body on the 4th of July, the independence of America. So he loved America. In fact, not only he loved America, Americans loved him. So they used to say that, take anything you want to India, but we're not letting him go, meaning Swami Vivekananda. He belongs to us. This is this concept of globalism. At the same time, nationalism, right? Both nationalism and globalism. Both what? Depth and intensity combined with breadth. This was the ideal of Ramakrishna, and this is what Swami Vivekananda manifested in his life. So the next question, what is an example of a member of our order who struggled with harmonizing nationalism with globalism? This is Swami Ishananda. How many of you have heard of Swami Ishananda? Okay. He was a direct disciple of Holy Mother. And the mother's on the left. So most of you know Holy Mother, Sri Sharada Devi and Radhu, her eternal companion. They said Radhu caused lots of trouble for Mother, but kept her confined to this world, which was good for us. Anyways, one day, I think it was Radhu, she wanted some silk cloth made by the British. And so Holy Mother told Swami Ishananda, at that time he was a young brahmachari, you go buy this silk cloth for Radhu. So Swami Ishananda, at that time a brahmachari, he was a staunch freedom fighter. So he had that, what would we call that nationalism, that patriotism. He said, no, I'm not going to buy a silk cloth I'm going to buy this Indian cotton cloth, okay? So he went and bought a cotton cloth for Radhu. And he explained why. I'm not going to support the British. Then what did Holy Mother say? Does anyone know? Are they too not my children? No, they too are my children. The English, they too are my children. So, this is a profound statement. If you want to talk about the application of Advaita or Vijnana Vedanta, I would say it's right there. Mother is seeing, even I'd say, I don't know if you want to say beyond Vijnana Vedanta, because Mother is seeing everybody not as a manifestation of consciousness, but everybody as her own child. So I see Rami Medananda is thinking about that. He'll give a reply later on. That's fine. But so, what a profound statement. Okay. Yet, so this is, you can say, was Holy Mother then a nationalist? But at the same time, in another situation, there was an instance where Mother was in Jairambati, and some village women of Jairambati were made to walk a long distance. The British officers unfairly took them and subjected them to different tortures and humiliations. That entire night, Holy Mother could not sleep. She felt very disturbed. In fact, the next day, when the women came back, only then Holy Mother then could be at rest. Then what did Holy Mother say? Again, see this Holy Mother's, when you're talking about this application means what? This viveka. Not viveka as this sata sat vichar, as Vedanta says, the discrimination between the unreal and the real. I'm going to argue that there was another type of vichara that Ramakrishna emphasized, and Holy Mother also manifested. That's this Vyavaharika buddhi in Bengali, practical intelligence. So what did Holy Mother say? She raised the question, was this order to take these village women and make them walk such a long distance, was this the order of a few rogue officers? Or is this the policy of the British government? See this application of Holy Mother's discrimination. She's not just saying all British people are bad, right? Like a knee-jerk reaction. That's what we call, what? A reaction. We know that, I've taken this in Yoga Sutras, we talk about every reaction we do that creates more karma. So what is Holy Mother doing? She's not reacting, but what? Responding. Is this a rogue order by a rogue officer? Or is this the new policy of this imperialist British government? Then she uttered these prophetic words. If this is actually the policy of the British government, their rule in India will not last for much longer. It will only last as long as Queen Victoria's good karma. And in fact, we see a few years later, what happened? The British rule came to an end. So what is this lesson that we can learn from Holy Mother on how to reconcile nationalism with globalism, especially in tense situations? So we say, this is what I believe Mother showed us. We first get rooted in our love for our own country. That love, which contributes to the world welfare, as Swami Chidekananda said. Second, we get rooted in the Vedantic idea that each soul is divine, and hence feel the unity with all people. Finally, we apply our discriminating intellect to the particular circumstance, and if we determine that an injustice is taking place, we protest against that particular action without having personal hatred for the people who are engaged in the act of injustice. No, without having personal hatred for the entire race, right? Which is what Holy Mother did here. In fact, this was a major issue in the 1920s and 1930s. At that time, Mahatma Gandhi, he had that freedom movement. So the Ramakrishna mission faced this issue of this debate between nationalism and globalism. People could not understand, how could you not support Mahatma Gandhi's cause openly? But now we understand, right? Because we're neither nationalist nor globalist, we're both. This is the principle of the Ramakrishna mission. So a follower of Mahatma Gandhi in the 1930s, he asked the same question to Swami Shivananda. Why are you not promoting Gandhi's freedom movement? What did Swami Shivananda reply? Just as we are doing things at home because we are interested in India's welfare, so we are also doing things abroad because we are equally interested in other races and countries. What do you see? Nationalism with globalism. Every monk of the Ramakrishna Mountain Mission established by Swamiji is dedicated to the ideal for one's own salvation, Atmano Mokshartam, and for what? The good of the world, Jagat Hitayacha. This is our motto. This is what this is based on. Both. Harmonization of globalism and nationalism. But it's interesting, when this devotee continued to protest, Mahapurush Maharaj then even gave a mystical explanation. He said, we are working with an ideal formulated and left to us by Swami Vivekananda. Before his illumined vision was revealed the picture of the next 1,000 years, not merely of India, but of the entire world, nationalism and globalism. He saw everything clearly and chalked out a definite policy for us to follow. Okay, I'm just gonna speed it up right now. Did you say that this clock is fast or slow, Swami?
A little fast.
It's a little fast. Okay, that's fine.
3 minutes fast.
3 minutes fast. Okay, that's fine. Well, when I used to give trials, I was a jury trial lawyer in San Francisco. So you have to map everything out, right? So whatever the time limit, you have to finish within that time. I think one Swami said that, who made that joke? Swami Sarvapriyananda. Someone told him this, Swami, the lecture ends at 12 o'clock. So you can go as long as you want, but we'll leave at 12 o'clock. Okay, challenge number 2. Reconciling depth and devotion for one's own religion and spiritual practices, combined with a broad universal love for all religions. Joto mot toto pot. As many views, as many opinions, so many paths. Again, I bring Sharat Chandra Chakraborty in the scene. You can call this the angry sea voyage of Swami Vivekananda. He was, I think, returning to India, and there was a Christian missionary who was bad-mouthing Hinduism. So Swami Vivekananda, he was not like Gandhiji, like very frail. He was very strong, very strong. He used to say muscles of iron and nerves of steel. So he was very strong. So what did he do? Did he reply with ahimsa? Did he say, no, that's okay, yeah, go ahead, criticize Hinduism? No. Swamiji gently put his hand on the collar of the Christian missionary and looked over at the sea. He said, I could toss you overboard. So what did the Christian missionary? Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. So afterwards, Sharat Chandra Chakraborty, he's asking Swamiji, was this right that you did this? Remember on an earlier occasion, I'm just going to digress. On one occasion when Swami Vivekananda went to the south, then sometimes they used to hurl insults at Swami Vivekananda, saying that you're not a sannyasi because you're not a Brahmin, you're a Kshatriya. So unless you're a Brahmin, you don't have a right to take sannyasa. And I think they called him like a Shudra, like a lower caste. Then how does Swamiji replied, if I'm a Shudra, you're the Shudra of Shudras. Well, he got a little bit angry. Afterwards, I think Ashwin Kumar Datta, he asked him, Swamiji, you're a monk. Was this right that you became upset? And Swamiji said, heavens no. I lost my anger, what to do? This is also an important point. In fact, I talked about this in this lecture on growth mindset. Accurate self-assessment. Okay, we get angry, that's okay. It's okay. But in this case, what did Swamiji say? Did he say, no, I lost my temper? No. What did he say? He put a question back at Sharat Chandra Chakraborty. If somebody insults your mother, what will you do? And Sharat Chandra, he said, I'll let him have it. Swamiji said, bravo. In the same way, if somebody insults your religion, you don't stand by quietly. Now, so you're arguing, well, does this make Swamiji then, like, what do they call him sometimes in the media? What do scholars call him sometimes? Hindutva? A fanatic? No. There's so many ample instances. Swamiji used to say about Christ, had I lived in Palestine in the days of Jesus of Nazareth, I would have washed his feet, not with my tears, but with my heart's blood. On another occasion, he said, I pity the Hindu who does not see the beauty in Jesus Christ's character. And what? I pity the Christian who does not reverence the Hindu Christ. And of course, there's that statement Swamiji says, many occasions, my goal is not to make a Christian a better Christian. No, my goal is to make a Christian a better Christian, a Muslim a better Muslim, a Hindu a better Hindu. So let everybody go along their own path, right? Path of least resistance. So Swamiji was both what? He had this gobhir in Bengali, this depth of emotion for his own religion. And at the same time, he was what? This udar, this breadth. All religions were his own. The embodiment of the harmony of all religions. Now, let me give an example. This is easy to say, and we're all agreeing with it. Yes, this is what it should be done. But even a direct disciple of Ramakrishna, a monastic direct disciple of Ramakrishna, struggled with this. How? When most of you here know about Swami Premananda, Babaram Maharaj, right? The monastic disciple of Ramakrishna. So after Ramakrishna's passing, one day he went to Jagannath, Puri. This Jagannath, I think some of you have heard of the Ratha Yatra, where Lord Jagannath stays. So anyways, he was there, and there he saw a Christian missionary. Now, this is a little bit controversial. In Swami Chaitananda's book, God Lived With Them, he translated this, that the Christian missionary was upbraiding Hinduism. And then what did Swami Babaram Maharaj do? He became excited. He started chanting Hari Bol, Hari Bol. And they drove off this Christian preacher from the site. Afterwards, Ramakrishna, who had already left his body, came to Swami Premananda in a dream and said, what have you done? He was also doing my work. Now, according to Swami Chaitananda's translation, this is a problem, because the translation was that the preacher was upbraiding Hinduism. So actually I did some research. Otherwise, if we take it on its face, this is problematic. Why? It sets up a conflict between Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. What do you do when somebody insults your religion? Do you keep quiet, or do you reply, do you respond? My God. Maharaj, how do I make this a little bit larger so I can read it? This next screen right here. Okay, let me just try to, okay. Okay, that's, I'm referring. Okay, so I think it was Bhakta Malika, 1963, volume 2, page 216. That's what Chaitanji had quoted. So I went and researched that, the original Bengali. Omoni tahar no, excuse me. Mondire Shamuki Krishtan Pracharakera Jishu Mohima Ghoshna Koriteche. So this is significant. Jishu Mohima Ghoshna Koriteche. Ghoshna means announcing, preaching. He was Jishu Mohima, the glory of Christ's name he was preaching. It didn't say anything about denigrating Hinduism. So actually I met Swami Chidekananda. He came to Advaita Ashrama a couple of months ago, and I asked him this question. He also replied that it's correct what I'm saying. So there's no conflict between Swami Vivekananda and Sri Ramakrishna. Now, again, when you say, okay, so when somebody insults my religion, I should react. No, not react. What did we say Holy Mother did before? Respond, right? What we say in Bengali, Babaharika Buddhi. So not that you just engage in violence. There's a proper way, there's a very nuanced way to respond. In fact, I mentioned this in Ramakrishna Kotamrita. I wrote an article on it, that Ramakrishna had that Babaharika Buddhi. And I feel that we don't study his actions and his words enough, how he manifests this practical intelligence in daily life. So here we see again that, that to the application of Ramakrishna's breadth with depth regarding religion requires a balancing act. Okay? Now, another thing I want to say. We have liberals and conservatives. And I'm not taking sides. And we're in Hollywood. So who's liberal, who's conservative, we don't know. But sometimes, we know what the problem with conservatism is, and Swamiji mentioned it. It leads to fanaticism. And liberals, what are the problem with liberals? They say, I remember here, Swami Swahanji used to be, he was the head here before, and he had a hot tub there, so for his sores in his different parts of his body. One day, one devotee came to Swami Swahanji, in the liberal mindset, and said, Swamiji, I want to love everybody. So Swami Swahanji is very sharp. He replied, now what do you mean by love? Now, not only what do you mean by love, but at the same time, do you have love? Before going out and loving all religions, do you have that religion? Do you have that understanding? Remember what Swami Vivekananda talked about Ramakrishna's Bhava, a proper understanding of the ideology, a clear understanding. And secondly, manifestation, actualization. So sometimes people say, I love all religions. But no, I'll push back. But do you properly understand your own religion? Right? Again, this is breadth with depth. Both have to be combined together. This is our sadhana. Okay, we're just about to wrap up. So I'll go to the third challenge. The third challenge is what? Reconciling a depth in Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge, or Raja Yoga, the path of meditation, combined with a harmony of all yogas. In the preface of Raja Yoga, Swamiji Vivekananda talks about that. Each yoga by itself, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma, Bhakti, each by a combination of all the yogas or independently, each yoga can lead to the highest goal. But what we find is that, yes, there must be especially a depth, and this was emphasized by our direct disciples, Swami Brahmananda and others, a depth in either Raja Yoga, the path of meditation, or the path of knowledge, studies. Now, who had a problem with this? Master Mahashaya, the compiler of the Sri Sri Kotamrita, the Gospel of Ramakrishna. It took place in 1912. He went to the Kashi Varanasi hospital, Shivashram hospital. So he had a certain viewpoint of Ramakrishna. He felt that Ramakrishna emphasized sadhana, spiritual practice, and contemplation and studies, and not so much what? Karma yoga. In fact, if you read the Kotamrita, you don't see much about Ramakrishna mentioning karma yoga. That was something afterwards mentioned by Swami Vivekananda. So, Master Mahashaya went to Varanasi, the Shivashram hospital. He was watching all of these different workers doing all these different monks, doing different types of duties. And inside he felt like, okay, they're not really doing, they should be doing more meditation and japam and studies. So then, Swami Brahmananda, actually Holy Mother was visiting at that time. So she had this vision when she went to Kashi. She was seeing all the activities at the Kashi hospital. She saw Ramakrishna Thakur doing all these activities. Again, what Medananda talked about, this Vijnana Vedanta. So she had that vision over there, seeing Ramakrishna in all activities, in all people. So that was made known to the other monks. So Swami Brahmananda, the president at that time, he learned about that. So he then asked Master Mahoshai, Holy Mother has said this. Now what do you think? What do you think about Karma Yoga? Is it still not what Ramakrishna emphasized? Then Master Mahoshai replied, what else can I say? If Mother says it, it must be true. So this was an example of a householder disciple, a stalwart householder disciple of Master Mahoshai, of Ramakrishna's, who struggled with this concept. Yet, on the other, I'll give you another, I'll conclude with an example of monks of our order who struggle with this on the other side. Sometimes monks on the other side, they take the other extreme, or followers of Ramakrishna. We say that karma is the only way. Only karma yoga. Studies is not necessary. Sister Nivedita, she went with this J.C. Bose, I think in 1910 or so, to Mayavati. So when she went there, she saw some brahmacharis. And these brahmacharis were not really interested in studies. They were doing whatever. So Sister Nivedita, before she became a nun, she was a school teacher. So she had that bhav, when she sees somebody not following the ideal, she wanted to correct them. That why don't you do some studies as well? Why don't you read some books, do some studies? And I'll just read what she says. She wrote this to Josephine MacLeod. She was really, again, I said, Swamiji, you see Swami Vivekananda at his best when he becomes angry. Same thing with Sister Nivedita. When she gets piqued, then you see her at her best. So in this letter she wrote, did those brahmacharis not realize what it meant? Because they were comparing themselves to Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna did not study, so why should I study? Right? So she became angry then. So Sister Nivedita wrote, did those brahmacharis not realize what it meant to sit day after day beside the Ganges, changing earth and gold from hand to hand, till he could throw them both away? Does everybody understand what he's referring to? Ramakrishna had that vision that he could hold this mati, this mud in one hand, and this kanchan, this gold in another hand, and see no difference between them. In fact, they said that Ramakrishna, when he touched gold, his hand used to always bend away. It could not stand the touch of gold. So Swami Swanji made another joke. He said that for the work of Thakur, when we get money, our hand bends also. It bends into our pocket. Again, could they not realize what that, then she continued, did those fools not see what an effort of mind was there? That subtlety of mind, right? Did they not see what an effort of mind was there? Did they suppose it made any difference whether that found expression in mathematics or Greek or physics or religion? Couldn't they see that it was the essence of learning? When I read this last line, mathematics or Greek or physics or religion, I was reminded of what Sister Nivedita had said about Swami Vivekananda's main contribution, that he had permanently and forever eradicated that distinction between the sacred and the secular. To labor is to pray. So this is an example of what? The requirement for depth in studies or meditation or both. So in conclusion, so today we talked about 3 different challenges. And I would say that these are the challenges of followers of Ramakrishna. If we want to really try to not only understand, which is the first part of what Swami Vivekananda says, but secondly, and more important, actualize and manifest. Ramakrishna's Bhava, Ananta Bhavmoy, the embodiment of infinite ideas and infinite moods. So what were those three challenges? Challenge number one, harmonizing, reconciling nationalism with globalism, right? And we gave the example of Swami Vivekananda, how he was not just a nationalist, yes he was also a globalist, both. And we saw how a disciple of Holy Mother struggled with this, and how Holy Mother solved it, right? She could solve it through her practice of discrimination. Second challenge is what? This challenge of reconciling, harmonizing love for one's own religion with a universal love for all religions. And the third challenge we just talked about, reconciling, or balancing, I should say, a depth for, in either Raja Yoga, the path of meditation, or the path of knowledge, combined with the practice, a harmony of all the yogas, especially Karma Yoga. So with that, I thank you all for listening.
All right, thank you, Swami Chidekananda. You know, I've known him since he was a teenager. So, and we did some programs together when you were, I think, still a teenager, public access videos and some seminar things. And he already had the seeds of a good speaker then, and it's wonderful to see how it's blossomed. And thank you again for your wonderful talk. And he will be available for questions and answers. And just be careful, he was a lawyer, so. All right, so we have a lot of things coming up, and you know, you're probably the luckiest congregation of any congregation in the United States. You get a different Swami every day. So you have on Tuesday, you're going to have Swami Sumanasananda on the Crest Rule of Discrimination. On Wednesday, it's Swami Meghdananda on the Gospel. On Thursday, it's Swami Mahayogananda on Karma Yoga. And on Friday, it's Swami Vijayananda with the teachings of Swami Ramakrishna. And no fooling, but we will have Ramnam on the 1st. And next Sunday, it will be Swami Meghdananda's Sunday on, I should memorize this, same goal, different paths. And so now we'll ask you to close with a chant. And then, oh yes, we have refreshments out here as well. So you can grab some refreshments and then go in for the questions and answers. Yes.
Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. It's funny in Advaita Ashram, because we don't practice rituals there. So this Shri Ramakrishna Paramastu, we never say that. We just say Om. And so that I had to retrain myself when I came here to say that. And I have to untrain myself when I go back to Advaita Ashram again.